And to the National Gymnastics Arena in Baku, a wonderful facility purpose-built for the training of Azerbaijan athletes, in particular their rhythmic gymnasts. And we are looking forward to this first session involving men and women as they attempt to qualify for various competitions across the artistic schedule. And the judges are all in place. Got a good crowd filing in to this gymnastics arena. Wife of the Azerbaijan president is a very keen follower of gymnastics, and she was the driving force behind the construction of this magnificent facility. So they're devoting a lot of resources towards lifting the performances of Azerbaijan in rhythmic and artistic gymnastics, in particular rhythmic, but our focus today is on the start of the artistic program. And it's got a different look to it really, with the men and women competing side by side. And here is the first rotation for the men, with 3 each from Spain and Switzerland. So teams of 3 at these European Games. You'll see larger teams at Olympic and World Championship level. Lots of little adjustments and almost experimentation, you might say, about the way some of the competitions are being run here, just to see what works and what might be worth implementing at other competitions. So 3 athletes also from Belgium and Great Britain. Expectation around the performances of Frank Baines. And John, there's a lot to look forward to here.
I think it's going to be a fantastic morning of gymnastics, and like you were indicating, the support of the home crowd here and the interest from high up within the politics of the region mean that the crowd is going to be pretty vociferous this morning. And there's the Czech team and the Austrian team, again teams of 3 in this first rotation, and it will be a fairly lively start to the team competition.
It's unusual for them because they're competing across 2 days in these qualification stages, whereas at Olympic and World Championship level they're more used to getting their qualification out of the way in 1 day. It might be the men 1 day, usually followed by the women. And here's the first subdivision for women, with Georgina Hockenhull leading it off for Great Britain. Ukraine with a strong team here, but Russia certainly going to be hard to beat. A very strong trio. Kelly Sim with a new release on uneven bars, we hear. We're looking forward to seeing that.
That could be an interesting new addition to the portfolio, and it's always interesting, of course, you get named after that, I believe.
That's right. She's hoping that will happen. But so there's just the 6 athletes in the first subdivision for the women. So in this first period of time, there will only be those names you can see on screen now competing. It's always interesting at gymnastics competition to see the way they dress the venue, what colours they go for. Sprung floor in artistic gymnastics.
But of course, all of these, not only the floor, but the equipment, specialist equipment, and disciplines. The tolerances of as an athlete or a gymnast that is training in their own environment, then comes to this pressurized environment. And sometimes, you come across a floor that might be just slightly different in terms of its resonance, and the vault may not exactly be like you've experienced at home. So this is a real good test of performance and your ability to handle the pressures of these multi-sport games. Not only have you got the pressure of sharing the village and being amongst all sorts of sports and the different disciplines across all sorts of different sports, but also you've got this intensity of competition within your own event.
Gymnastics does like to reward the all-around athlete, a special event for those who are competent on all 4 or all 6 apparatus. So we're waiting for the arrival of the athletes, and even the conditions inside the actual competition hall can vary from outside in the training hall. They'll be keen to get a touch.
Isn't it fantastic? First time they've been on the television, so you know, they'll see themselves on the big screen. They won't quite believe that it's really them that's looking at themselves.
Not a school day, why not come? The National Gymnastics Arena just across the road from the main stadium.
It's been an incredibly good welcome from the local populace. They've been incredibly friendly, incredibly helpful, and we've experienced some real positive hospitality from Azerbaijan and the population around us.
So the countdown for the arrival of the athletes. Certain solid traditions in the way gymnastics is presented. The athletes will come in, they will greet the judges, they will have a little warm-up. So just 6 female athletes to start with, but there'll be 18 men to join them. Spain, Switzerland, Czech Republic, Austria, Belgium and Great Britain. Six apparatus for the men, 4 for the women, and 3 today for the men, and then 3 tomorrow. So the Spanish and Swiss men will be on floor first of all. Nestor Abad, Fabian Gonzalez and Miguel Zapata. Marco Rizzo, Taha Sahani, Michael Meyer. The Swiss trio. Belgium and Great Britain will be on pommels, and on rings Czech Republic and Austria. Bit of a warm-up session, John, and these opportunities for the boys and girls to get some nerves out of the way.
Well, this is it. You know, this is the moment when you can now get down to the business of why you're here. And you know, the period leading into it, you know, breakfast wouldn't have been too pleasant for them in terms of trying to take some nutrition, but not to overeat. You need to hydrate. There's air conditioning that may have been slightly different in terms of the sleep patterns, and the temperatures in Azerbaijan currently, you know, are well into the late 20s. So outside, you've got quite a bit of heat. And this is the moment where you can now start to show people what it is you're here for. And the ones that do well would be the ones that can control those emotions and their energy levels. And focus on what the task is at hand. And because of the complexity of gymnastics across the disciplines, you know, it's times like this you find out whether you can cut the performance, you know, cut the performance ice, or whether you, you know, just melt in front of the crowd and in front of your colleagues. But it's what they practice. They practice hours and hours and hours in the gym.
Well, I just thinking really there, it's hard to think of athletes who train longer or harder and from an earlier age, because so many of them start at 4 and 5 years of age. And it's a real commitment, and it builds this sort of mutual respect and collegiality amongst the gymnasts. And David Jessen, Czech Republic, up first on rings. Looks like we might be focusing on this apparatus initially. This demands enormous strength. Shoulders, biceps, abs. I'm sure you've seen some of it, and we're about to see some good competition here.
Yeah, those cables that hold those rings are 3 meters long, so you're suspended up there, just 50 centimeters apart. And, this is a real endurance, power, strength-based event.
It's 28 years of age. It's vital that they try to keep the rings steady, not too much forward and backward movement, except when they're going through the tumbling. So he's got a little bit too much swinging going on. Have an opportunity to steady it as he comes back to the handstand. And the dismount is very solid from Jessen. Won't be unhappy with that first performance.
No, he sort of lost control, lost the pressure on the rings, perhaps just halfway through, and started to move around a little bit, but he certainly got back the control that he started with, and then he had a really tidy dismount and good landing, and that's, you know, you can't do more than that at this stage. First one up, the nerves would have been flying around, and you can see there that a very competent dismount.
Going to go across to floor. The Spanish boys here, and Fabian Gonzalez moving over to his start position.
So this is Gonzalez. He's first up of the Spanish trio to come to the floor. So he's just waiting for his signal. And this is what you can't train for. This you can do this in the gym in terms of your practice routine, where you do make them wait in practice, so that when you get into the arena for competition, you can see him taking some fairly deep breaths there, because he may not, be used to just having to hang around a little bit. So this will be a bit of a challenge, just having to wait.
Particularly at the start of competition, the judges are often have a problem or two, as with communication and technical issues, and I don't like it, but that wouldn't be the first time they've run into a delay, and that really they just have to prowl around, visualize, try and stay relaxed.
Well, it's part of the practice routine, because if you don't do this in the gym at home, and you just don't say, no, hold on a minute, we've got a faulty bit of floor here.
Score coming in for Jessen of a 12.666 on rings. Didn't have a high difficulty there, 4.5. Execution not too bad at 8.1. And one of the tougher ones is out of the way for him.
Yeah, so as was indicated there, that the pressurized cauldron here is just so hard to replicate in the gym at home, and good coaches put people through these pressurized scenarios so that when they do come to here and experience some changes in the plan, they can actually adapt, and the Spanish gymnast is on his way.
So Gonzalez, his teammate Abad with a 13.733 on floor. First 2 rows, very good. Make sure he controls his footwork, stay inside the area. Penalties, of course, for stepping outside or for falling.
Good control into that handstand. Nicely balanced.
Well, the twisting elements and the complexity of the tumbling rows are just evolving, getting more and more difficult, more and more technical. It used to be that 3 tumbling rows were standard, and they're just packing more and more in. Gonzalez from Palma de Mallorca, 22 years of age.
And you know, having to wait nervously at the start of that, he actually did a pretty good job there. And at the end of his routine, he landed it and nailed the landing. But then he sort of finished, stood up and clenched that fist. So you can tell that he was reasonably pleased with what was probably a very testing moment, certainly waiting at the start before he could commence his routine.
He did compete in London. Particularly good on floor with a 13th placing. As we go across to the women now, and Kelly Sim in the vault. Nice job.
Colin Steele from Britain. He's working with Amanda Redding here, who coached Beth Tweddle to her many medals at world and Olympic level. And you can see that Sim will be delighted with the clarity of her performance on that particular vault.
And Kelly is performing a second vault, so she's chasing a place in the vault final. Just bouncing out of the landing a little. So some of the athletes will do 1 vault, but those who want to be in the vault final are obligated to do 2 different vaults. It's become a bit of a specialty event. Not too many athletes want to be doing 2. She's landed in the corridor, so no deductions there.
Hands just wide on that planter, you know, that block on the right side, just sort of a little out of position there, but the judges are going to be pretty harsh to pick that up, I would think.
Score in for Gonzalez of 14.6, so he's slipped past his teammate Abad, who had a 13.7. So nice start to the competition for Gonzalez.
So Kelly Sim looking pleased with her morning's vault, 2 attempts at the vault.
Now Miguel Zapata, third of the Spanish men on floor. Floor level cameras really give you a clear indication of the height they're generating off the sprung floor. It's a powerful man.
It also gives you a perception of the forces that are being generated off the floor too. And not only that, but the absorption needed when you land in double foot or just a split foot landing. Great control into that handstand.
Made the floor final at the World Championships last year in Nanning. Heels right in the corner, get the maximum distance. for the double straight to finish, and a big smile.
Yeah, I think he can walk off with a swagger. Great layup into this twisting, fully extended. Great control.
He did need all that
Great
diagonal too, didn't he? And just squeezed it in. They've got a real awareness of where those lines are. He knew he was just inside, so he walks away smiling, and a fairly good start from the Spanish boys. He was just a bit short on his first tumbling row, but a 15-3 is a very healthy start for Zapata.
He's very tidy, I think. We could say that was, he taps his heart and says, you know, that was good. And here's Kelly Sim from her vault.
Yeah, she's two, of course, 14-233, 13-533 for a second, which just looked a little untidier on landing. It's not a huge venue in terms of its capacity. It only holds about 5,500, but there's a large training hall and accommodation on site for the rhythmic gymnasts of Azerbaijan. So they have really got it all right here. Niall Wilson, first of the British athletes up on pommels. It's tremendously demanding, technically especially, apparatus. Keep the heels locked together for these circles. Working hard to clear the handles. Through to the dismount. Nice clean routine from Wilson.
And again, when you come in and you're first up into the discipline, you know, you're focused. You've been thinking about this, you know, from the previous day, the previous week, and you know what you've done in training, and now the moment has come where you've got to get up into the position where everybody's focused on you and what you're doing. Good circles, good control. So execution was pretty good from the British boy.
Barely 19. Still building the strength, no doubt. But already a great athlete. Now, Matthias Schwab on rings. Getting set. Get the strength elements out of the way early. A little bit of movement in the rings. He's looking to steady that. Looking to hold the strength elements for 2 seconds.
A little bit of swinging, a little bit of shaking going on here, not as still as he would like it.
Oh, and he's got a problem with that handstand. Shoulders absolutely burning by now. Well, the dismount was solid, but he had a couple of problems on the way through.
Yeah, he did. He lost control and then didn't fully extend into that handstand.
Now Bryn Bevan, who is third up on pommels for Great Britain. Last athlete on this apparatus in the first rotation for the men. Zapata's 15-3 on floor, still the highest score for the men in this first rotation. Must work to all parts of the horse. Nice work into the flares briefly. This is a solid routine so far from Bevan. Just needs to finish now. Oh, that's very strong.
Very nice circles. Legs and feet very well held together, and great posture throughout the movement, and he nailed the landing, so he'll be looking for reasonably good marks from that. Really high flares as he moved up and down the horse. You can see the intricacies of the hand movement.
About a 13.5 so far from Wilson, and that's the mark he'll be looking to better. Well, we saw Schwab with a few problems on rings, and just a 12.3 for the Austrian there.
Yeah, the inability to extend into that handstand would have cost him dearly, I think.
Now, Angelina Kisler of Ukraine on vault. We'll try and give the impression, even if the landing isn't completely under control, that they are. So it'll bounce around, immediately turn to the judges as they make the balance adjustment. It's a little bit of a game in that sense.
Years of practice, you know, she was just slightly out of balance and then sort of put her feet quickly together to turn side on to the judges. So, yeah, she was canny, shall we say. She was canny. She looked as though she might have done that before a few times.
And Kiesler, 13.733. She's not looking to make the vault final, but the all-around and team competition marks very important. And for Bevan, a 14.766, and that is clearly the standout score in the first rotation on pommels. Vincenz Hook now for Austria.
This just requires so much strength from your core to, you know, your fingers that just grip into that ring. You know, the pressure that you have to exert through those palms of the hand and through the grip is fundamental to keeping the rings steady and still.
Particularly for the young gymnasts, this is a tough apparatus. So 18 and 19-year-olds, as we have here in the field, Hook, still building the strength required to master this apparatus, and some eventually choose not to. They become specialists in other apparatus, and all the leg work, lost it there.
Didn't quite stand up at the end. Their head was down, and you could just see that counterbalance movement, just so that he could stand fully erect and present to the judges. But it started so well and then just lost it a little bit, like one of his colleagues earlier, just didn't quite nail certain elements within the program.
Crucifix, good. Nice shoulder position. If you don't have a good relationship with the apparatus, you're not going to do well on it.
Yeah.
Just a little too much movement there. Anyway, it's out of the way.
Great pictures from the slow motion replays there, and you can see the intensity and focus and concentration that these guys and the ladies have to have. And the Austrians now just lining up, ready to take a bit of a stroll around the gym. It's not too far to walk. They won't like walking too much, these guys, based on power. They can generate force, but they won't want to walk too far.
Yes, so on to their second rotation. The Austrians and Czechs over to the floor. And just a 14-1 for Hook on rings. That's the team standing. Spain doing quite well on floor with a narrow lead over Switzerland. Great Britain on pommels in third, then Austria, Belgium and Czech Republic. Other teams to come later in the session. For the women, Great Britain with a lead of about 0.3 over Ukraine after the vault.
And of course, these men and ladies, they would have all been in the gym prior to this competition starting, and they would have had a familiarization movement around the gym and the facilities, and just checking whether there are any subtle differences. Coaches would have been in there too, just to do their pre-competition search, or whatever you like to call it.
Spain and Switzerland, across to pommels. There's an argument that warming up, preparing for 2 days of competition instead of one in the qualifying is maybe not doing the athletes any favour, that they'd rather get the 6 apparatus out of the way for the men and for the women 4. Anyway, we're going have a look at uneven bars competition, and Hook and Hull lead them away.
And this is where we may have the birth of a new move, is that right?
So Kelly Sim has supposedly got something new to show. I think it's in the transition between bars. She's in the all-around and team competitions. He's intending to debut it, but we'll see. Luca van den Kibbers for Belgium on rings, though. Looks like first athlete up. Waiting for the green light from the judges. They won't attempt to start the routine until they get the nod and the green light. He has it now.
Coaches are reminding him that perhaps he's not quite ready. Yeah, I think they received different messages from the judges. The coach interpretations of it was slightly different to what the performer had.
He saluted the judge and then paused again. He's also got to wait for his name to come up clearly on the adjacent scoreboard. It's another indication that they're ready for him. He's ready for them.
And this is another classic example of, in the gym, in your training venue where you train every day of the week, you just wouldn't have to wait. You might have to wait for a mate who's on doing the same exercise, but you can just crack on. Here, you have to wait.
Van den Kibbers is away. And the dismount was all right. He had a bit of a mixed journey through that routine with some forward and backward momentum, which he managed to get rid of through pressing through to a handstand, and then it came back towards the end of the routine. But we'll see what the judges thought of that. Check out Gonzalez on pommels. A 14-7 from Bryn Bevan. The standout scores so far.
Just looking for these wide circles and the use of the whole pommel. Just moving throughout. Keeping those legs together or in straddle. Just making sure you get some height and range as you move across the equipment. Well, it was tidy rather than exceptional, but you'd be pretty pleased with that. There were no massive errors throughout that, and
didn't quite make the pommels final in London. Qualifying, he had a 14-7-3-3. Doesn't feel like 3 years ago.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
And Rio is a lot closer to us now than London in the past. And many of these athletes will have their eye on that. 13-3 on rings for Van den Kiebus.
Chalk is such an integral part of the sport, you know. You've seen some of the gymnasts in the gym and their hands are gnarled, you know, and they're 15 years of age and they've got blisters, and, you know, so these hand guards, and as you can see in the girls in these uneven bars, that, you know, the hand guard is crucial to protecting the skin of these hands.
Charlie Fellows, following Georgina Hockenhull and preceding Kelly Sim in the British rotation. Nice release. Crowd appreciating it. Dismount to come. Double straight, good job.
Well, across the discipline so far that we've seen, men and women, that was probably the tidiest dismount and recovery. So she landed with her feet on the mat and just didn't flinch an eyelid in terms of just presenting to the judge. Great skills on the bars.
Born in Birmingham in 1997. The athletes need to be turning 16 in the year of competition. I think the sport's made some positive moves in that regard, making sure that they're not competing at a world level at too tender an age. Certainly some issues around that in decades past. Right there. Yeah, that feels better. Gonzalez with a 14-5 on pommels. And he's currently top of the all-around standings after 2 good scores in the mid-14s. Waiting for the bar score for Charlie Fellows. And we've been talking about Kelly Sim. So she's third up here, and we hope that we'll see her uneven bars routine in a moment. She can't go until the score for Fellows is registered.
I wonder if we're clever enough to spot the new move.
13-7 for Charlie Fellows. Kelly Sim. There we go. Alicia well. And moves to the high bar effortlessly. You can do it without pushing off with your feet from the low bar. And again, that may have been it. I have to say, I've not seen it, Johnson. I'm not sure, but that release is more standard, and she's doing a great job here. Oh, and just stumbles out of the dismount. That's a shame. Just came off a bit flat. And so much of that was so good.
He was so active, wasn't it? I mean, it was like moving from one to the other almost seamlessly, and incredibly dynamic. And I think probably we're witnessing something that's new on the block.
Well, she's hoping that she can have a move named after her. And it's very difficult to come up with one. There's not much that hasn't been thought of.
You can see the intensity of just preparing for that fine eye shut.
Yeah, I think she just let go of the bar a little early, and that left her with not enough elevation to get through, but requiring a step to finish. The judges will have been informed about what she was going to do, and may indeed have seen it also. They go to some trouble to make sure that the judges look, we're going to try something new. It looks like this. This is what we're trying, and hopefully they're on top of it.
Well, she definitely would have been in the training hall this week prior to it. So, yeah, the judges would have been asked to come down and witness it, I would imagine.
And 12.933. Execution just down a little, some leg form issues, and one with the landing as well. So we've just got the Swiss boys warming up. They're breaking these rotations in half, if you like, so the second group of three getting a chance to warm up. So in Ukraine's instance, they're getting a touch on uneven bars.
And despite the activity that's going on in the gym, you just get these moments where sort of all of it's finishing and they're just warming up. So you just have to be aware and be patient for the next gymnast in line to step up to the equipment. But looks like Pommel's getting ready to go. Bit of strapping around that shoulder. Rotator cuff injuries, pretty common in this. They dislocate so easily in a lot of the movements that they do with the shoulder rotations. So
that hurts just thinking about it. Marco Rizzo. He's next up. The ankles drifting apart during the circles. The judges don't miss that. It's just minor stuff, but oh, and again, he's lost a bit of leg form.
not getting a great deal of height, is he, above the how, and then touched. The setup and the process as he got further and further, he's just losing a roof or sort of face as he walks away from the apparatus. He knows he hasn't quite nailed that.
Yeah, it just wasn't clean. There were some breaks of form and a couple of brushes of the handles, and that just throws the rhythm out. You see the legs drifted apart, and again, the ankles, if you can, just lock them together, and once more he's brushed the apparatus on the way through.
And you could almost see there that the strapping around his left shoulder, that was the inhibiting factor. He couldn't extend up on that left arm, and as a result of that, everything just tipped and leant down a little bit, and he lost his momentum. So yeah, when you've got carrying an injury, this isn't the sport that you need to have to carry it through.
The harsh truth is that a lot of the gymnasts do perform with an injury. It's just that how much it inhibits you. And better athletes manage their bodies well, John.
Well, the other thing is, Steve, is that when you're at this level of performance, it's almost a given that you're going to hurt yourself. So therefore, managing injury and have the ability to rehabilitate and get back into the event is part and parcel of what you do. And you get that resilience, you know, you either cope with it or you don't. But gymnasts in particular are hugely resilient in terms of their physical ability to get back up and have another go when they've fallen off or when things are hurting too much.
Jana Fedorova.
See, they've got all the tools of the trade. They've got the chalk and then they've got the water.
17-year-old from Kiev.
It's a fascinating balance, isn't it, between having the ability to grip, but then the ability to slide at the same time, because you don't want to slow down your swings, or you don't want to slow down, but at certain crucial moments you want to have that grip in that moment where, you know, everything's in synchronization with what you're trying to do. So the balance is crucial. But again, these girls and these boys would have practiced this hugely, and you can see that she's just making sure that the spray from her gun, it's a bit like doing the ironing, isn't it? You know, they just want to make sure that shirt's got the right amount of fluid on it so the iron doesn't burn it and get a good straight line. Know anything about that?
No, yeah, I know plenty about ironing, but just the analogy caught me by surprise. Fedorova is away. Oh, that was not planned.
She lost the balance quite early on in the swings down to the lower bar, and it's almost as if she rotated forwards on her right hip and then just lost the momentum. This is the resilience factor, isn't it? You know, you get back on. You've made a bit of an error. She'll get a penalty for having to get back on, but the fact she's got on is a massive positive.
The fact that the coach is there, it's an indication that they're not 100% confident about the releases and the transition.
Well, she'll get the applause of the crowd, because it takes a lot of mental strength to get back onto these bars when you've had a bit of a accident in your first attempt.
So drifting back to Rizzo to give you a score of 12-6 on pommels. And Niall Wilson on rings.
Great control exhibited in that first phase. Those rings hardly moving.
Bryn Bevan, his teammate, has had a 13.866. 14-1 from Hook of Austria. Still looking for a big score on this apparatus.
Very still in the crucifix.
He's looking nicely in control. Still got the strength to hold. Oh no, a major deduction at the end. And the disappointment all over the face and body of Wilson.
Well, he got everything, everything right up until this moment, where knees and then head and then fists all made contact with the ground.
And a 13.766, the execution down. Fedorova, a pretty modest score on uneven bars. That's expected, having come off. Michael Mayer. Last of the Austrians on pommels. Swiss, I beg your pardon.
And he had a bit of a bump early on in this routine, so it's actually made him get his feet up. So he's had a positive effect.
A very uncomplicated routine.
And didn't finish with a particular flourish. It just almost just slipped off the pommel. And
so it's not his strongest event. This blind grabbing of the handles. And it all happens so quickly. There's his backside just coming into contact.
yeah, flourish of rotations on his hands, but then really, you know, his face told the story, I think. I don't think he was too pleased with how he finished off.
And athletes move on to their next rotation. Just be focusing on the men now, because that group of women from Great Britain and Ukraine have done the two that they're here for today. They don't come back now until tomorrow. 13.066, yeah, that's a fairly modest score on pommels, but by no means the worst. Spain still with a lead over Great Britain and Switzerland, Austria, Belgium and Czech Republic. Bit of a gap between 4th and 5th at this stage through 2 events. Third rotation for the men involved in this first session. So this is the third of their 6 apparatus, but the other 3 are tomorrow. I once had it explained to me, John, that if they could make gymnastics competition and judging more complicated, they would. And they keep experimenting with it to try and get it the best result both for spectators at the venue, at home, and of course for the athletes. The duty of care with the athletes is ought to be, and I'm sure is, a primary concern. But you know, it's a tough sport to get right.
Well, the interesting thing for me is that, and this applies to all sorts of different sports where you have sort of multi-discipline elements to it, is if you compared it, say, to track and field decathlon or heptathlon, where you got lots of different events, it's over 2 days. So the physical demands actually, you know, make sure that that's the case. But in terms of gymnastics, if you actually are used to having your team events on one day, and you train for that, so you're prepared to do that on that day. So actually it just does change the training dynamic if you change it to 2 days.
So a new group of women comes out onto the competition floor. Germany and Russia on floor, Croatia and Belarus uneven bars.
You can tell by the size of the crowd, this is, as Steve alluded to earlier, this is a very popular event in the host city. And there's a fair mixture of families coming out on this day to bring the families along and watch, and the people from gymnastics come to watch their children compete, and it's a pretty full arena with a great atmosphere.
But Anna Derek, first of all, on uneven bars.
Gets the high five from the coach. Looking reasonably satisfied with her execution on the bars.
Now, here's one of the standout athletes at the competition, Alia Mustafina. Along with her teammate Victoria Komova. To be fair, the vault is not perhaps Alia's favourite. World champion on beam, medalist on bars all around. Well, maybe she should be on vault. That's a cracker. And the height she generated off the vault, I think she's pleased with the start.
Well, it may not be a favourite, as you were alluding to, but she certainly nailed that. Great setup, and then that block to give her the height off the vault. And what a sweet landing that was. Running was a little choppy coming into it, but she certainly transferred that power from the run-up onto the vault and then off the vault into the floor and lands it with aplomb.
Yeah, well, she is the Olympic champion on uneven bars and third in the all-around competition, so of course she can vault. Get a medalist in the all-around competition without a very good vault indeed. Mustafina pointing to someone up in the crowd, but anyway, she's waiting for her score before her teammate Victoria Komova can go. Komova is off. Just a little less controlled with the landing.
Yeah, it's tidy, but speed of the run-up, which is so crucial to be able to get the block and generate some height off the vault. She was just a little sort of bouncy on the run-up, is what I'd call it. You know, just a force. It's not quite going in the direction she wanted to go.
15.133 for Mustafina. Interesting that none of the three Russian competitors is looking to make the vault final.
That certainly wouldn't have looked out of place in a vault final.
No,
I don't think.
Absolutely not. You get in the 15s, that's absolutely fine. And the junior of the three Russians here, Sida Tutkalian. Did manage a fifth at the Youth Olympics. Tutkalian in the vault. Now the score's in for Komova, 14.566. Oh, beautifully done. And she might have a future on this apparatus.
Very nice running action as she comes down the runway, and then that transfer of energies from the hands to the vault and the block pushes off. Legs slightly apart there, but then quickly put together and twists and catches and lands and spots that beautifully.
Looks like she's going to comfortably make the transition from junior to senior gymnastics. She was fourth at the European Juniors on vault in May of last year. And she is doing two vaults. Well, this is maybe a late change of mind, because she wasn't on our start list, given an indication that she was going to do two. Not quite as tidy with the second. Just have to step out of that important landing corridor, and there's a deduction there, and she comes away not quite so pleased with her effort.
She really does look a bundle of energy, though, doesn't she? You know, the speed of the run-up, just off-centre on the vault itself, and then that recovery takes her outside those parallel lines.
It wasn't in the centre of the runway, and she's worked her way across, as she did with the first vault, but she got away with it on the first and landed it nicely, but not a second time.
No, and has to readjust the radar, perhaps, or just readjust that run-up so that she comes at the equipment, that vault, which is positioned right in the centre of the runway, so there's no excuse, really. You should be hitting that as straight as you can.
Back to the men's competition, and Spain's Nestor Abad. There's only been one score so far in the 14s on rings. That belongs to Hook of Austria. Very steady in the handstand. Well, a less complicated but well executed finish.
And of course the difference compared with Wilson from Great Britain was that he landed and survived the landing. So it was very tidy, nothing too complicated, nothing too complex. Very steady, good pressure in the rings. Holding the positions for the 2 seconds that they should be holding. And he stands, and once he realizes he's not going to go down, he puts the head up and stands upright for the judges.
14.466 is the average score of those 2 vaults. That's what they're looking for when they're compiling a qualifying score for the vault final. So the second vault had its issues. But probably be good enough to see it through to the final. Plenty to come though. The Spanish boys are done for the moment. They've been through their 3 rotations, and they'll be back tomorrow to complete vault and P-bars and high bar. So they're looking a bit relaxed on it.
And rightly so. You know, we saw Zapata, who had a great floor routine, and one of the few scores that we've seen today over 15.
Mr. Abad, 13.533. And that's got him just sitting behind his teammate Gonzalez in the all-around standings. When you look at results years past, it's not a surprise that Gonzalez is sitting atop the standings at this early stage, though.
Yeah, there's a long way to go, and you can see that wide shot just showing all of the layout of the gymnasium here. It's fairly compact, and 2 floor exercise areas and performance areas, and then you've got the vault, and then of course you've got the other apparatus spread around that.
Bryn Bevan will be the first of the 3 British gymnasts on floor. That angle, it doesn't look square, but I can assure you it is. 12 by 12. And the toes over the line, so the judges are unlikely to have missed that. To regather himself really as he progressed to the handstand. And he's outside the area again. Up comes the red flag. Is just bottom of your screens there. So he's got lost a couple of tenths outside the area. A bit of a shame for him. It was otherwise a pretty good routine for Bryn Bevan.
Yeah, just a little lack of discipline in the recovery phase at the end of he's moving across the diagonal. So just a step, isn't it? It just takes a step, and you've got to stay within the lines. Otherwise, the judges are going to catch you out.
Well, the various forces on the body as they're twisting and rotating to try and keep everything in alignment, that's a whole other skill in itself.
Yeah, it's one half of it is actually generating the force, and then absorbing it is, of course, the other part of the equation. And that's when the body just sometimes gets a little confused.
Denmark's Mette Hulgaard. Danish athletes in the same group as the Russian three. Mette Hulgaard, their teammates Linnea Wang and Michelle Lauritsen.
Next gymnast on vault, representing Denmark will be Mette Hulgaard.
Well, the front tuck somersault, one of the less complicated vaults, but she got through it okay. The score's in for Bryn Bevan on floor, 14-1-3-3, and the penalties there of 0.4.
So if he progresses, he'll need to tidy that up, because 0.4 penalty, you know, is something that can be avoided.
Perfect. Had a 15 on floor from Rizzo of Switzerland. Best of the men so far. Gonzalez a 14-6. Now Wilson finishing up, last pass. Well, he's reasonably pleased with that, one would think, from his reaction.
Yeah, takes that deep breath, puffs out his cheeks, and then gets ready for this move across the diagonals, and was looking in good control throughout his routine here. And I think when he landed that last one, you could see the grimace on his face then as he's coming over to land. Takes that, absorbs it, just a little bounce, double bounce to catch, and then sets himself up for the final part. Fantastic body awareness. Just the rotations just out of sync just as he landed, but he stood up, and that was nearly nailed.
Well, the twists are just a blur. They just pack them in. Vincent's hook on pommels. Last man up for Austria on this apparatus. And then he too will have finished for the day.
You can see a little bit of flexion happening in those legs. The separating heels just creeping apart as he sort of moves and then pulls them back together. Then fairly straightforward dismount.
Waves to the crowd, and I guess that's a goodbye, at least for now. He'll be back. That's a Hulgaard, the senior gymnast here at 26, 13-1-6-6. on vault for the Dane. Niall Wilson, 14-4 on floor. That'll move him up the standings. So the progressive totals are very important for one particular competition, and that is to make the all-around final. At the moment it's Bevan, Gonzalez and Wilson, 1, 2, 3. I would suggest he really didn't hold that crucifix for long enough. Certainly wasn't 2 seconds. That's a bit better, even if it is attached to a bit of movement.
Yeah, the crucial thing is this pressure into the ring, isn't it? So that it gives you that stability. The grip is and the ability to apply that pressure just holds you there. And you can see a bit of shaking, which is shown throughout the routine so far.
I think more than any other apparatus, the difference between those who do the rings because they have to and those elite few who choose to make it their apparatus, it really is significant.
Yeah, it is chalk and cheese. It's such a demanding discipline in the whole range of disciplines that gymnasts can excel at. He's taken a hit for the team. I think that's what it will be. Credit to him.
There's the floor. Down safely.
I think sometimes they land and their head's up and they think the floor's coming, the floor's coming. Not that I would know anything about it, I have to say. It wouldn't get me on them.
So a change in apparatus for the women, and first subdivision of men and leave the stadium.
So Meyer of Switzerland, 13.466. And he currently is 8th position after the 3 disciplines completed so far.
There's various competitions in one here. So in the team standings, it's Great Britain now who've got themselves at 0.4 to the good of Spain, and then Switzerland. Bit of a gap there, second to third. Austria, Belgium and the Czech Republic. So the team final standings will be known after tomorrow's competition, and only then also will we know who's qualified for the all-around, and they also use this competition to qualify for the individual apparatus final. So it's like 3 competitions in one. And for the women, it's the Russian Federation lead over Great Britain, Ukraine, Denmark, 5 points back almost then to Croatia.
Well, you certainly can't say you don't get your money's worth in gymnastics, because, you know, 3 competitions in one, discipline after discipline, and 5 different disciplines on the go at any one time. It certainly is a beehive of activity in the gymnasium.
So joining the competition now, we have athletes from Germany, Russia, Italy, Greece, Poland, and one from Slovakia, Slovak Republic. The Italians and Greeks will start on pommels. It's the rings for Poland and Slavomir Michnak. very difficult for, I think, the uninitiated to turn up to a session like this and understand what's going on.
It is a very busy hive of activity, isn't it? And you know, just understanding that the women do this and the men do this, and they jointly do this, and you know, it's a start of the learning process. But you've got it all going on at the same time.
Yeah, your comparison to the decathlon or heptathlon is valid, particularly for the all-around gymnasts, those who are good on all 4 or all 6 apparatus. And that is something that the FIG is trying to encourage, because what's happened in the last 10 years is that gymnasts have gone, look, it's too hard to be good at all apparatus, and I'm just going to specialise in 1 or 2. And that's taken something away from the gloss of being the best all-around gymnast. And as they change the qualifying process heading towards not Rio but Tokyo, they want to put more of an emphasis on being good on a number of apparatus.
Yeah, and I think recovery is key to this, because you can imagine that if you're in the women's team event, if you were to do all the events in a day, the disciplines, then, you know, that's a pretty, even though they're trained for it, it's still pretty demanding. And it's not so much the physical demands, it is the psychological demands, the pressure and mental challenge that getting ready and up for each of the events and the disciplines in one day. So it does give them a bit more recovery time, I think.
Russia and Denmark, and the women's side of it will be on even bars, and it's the vault for Croatia and Belarus. There's a number of athletes performing 2 vaults in this second rotation for the second subdivision. It's a language all its own, really, just the competition. Tutkalien. Double front on the dismount from Sida Tutkalien. I think she's going to be a name to remember. She's got very good junior results behind her. She's not out of place at this level. It's absolutely clear.
Well, there's no doubt that some athletes, not just gymnasts, rise to the occasion. And this, she looks a bundle of energy, doesn't she? She's not the tallest gymnast, but she's very petite. She's built to generate force. You can see there's good development of the lower limb, and then great expertise in the execution of the moves. And it just looks good, doesn't it? It just looks as though it's all connected. It looks like it's a whole, despite all the parts that are making up the moves within the discipline.
Alia Mustafina next. 14.166 for Tutkalien.
So Mustafina gets ready to go to the bars.
So she is our reigning Olympic champion. Well, Mustafina just leaves the judges with a great impression with the dismount. There's just a smoothness and a rhythm about the routine of someone of this quality and experience. I don't even think that was possibly her best. There were just tiny little errors there, but very impressive nonetheless.
It just looks so joined up, doesn't it, from start to finish, and very smooth. The transition from one bar to the other, just seamless as she just moves through her routine, and then nails the landing. Slight bit of twist on the landing, but but that was just picking, being picky in terms of what happened. But great height, great power, and sleek. Just looks sleek.
Struggling to get completely around after the twist in the dismount, but she has this look about herself. I've got this, rather than being apprehensive. Just looks confident. And there we go, a 15-2 on bars for Mustafina.
So high difficulty, great execution. This is Kamova of Russia.
And that 15-2 from Mustafina is a full 1.1 better than the rest of the field at this point. Kamova could go close. Well, similar dismount to Mustafina's, and they've got that one worked out.
Anything you can do, I can do the same or slightly better, perhaps. So you can imagine it gets pretty competitive within the same team.
Just here in the background, the Russian teammates calling out encouragement to her. We were discussing this the other day, John, whether you think that's actually a benefit or not. I don't know that they would actually hear it.
Well, I don't think they can hear it. It's almost like it's a release for you as you observe, I think, sometimes. And some coaches will, just observe and make some key notes about what's going on. Others will, commentate almost as the routine is being delivered.
Fabian Hambushin. Introduced to the top level at a very young age, and a dynamic Thomas Flair's adapted really from pommels to the floor, and won't see it better than that. But it's almost drifted out of fashion, that movie. It looks good, but there's not a lot of value in it. Nice finish from Hambushin. He's pretty happy with the routine.
He had great precision in that move as he travelled around the floor, and these flares were just giving him some preparation time, and great range and fantastic core control and strength, and then good running to set up what is a very, very tidy finish to the routine. Clinch to the fish, so you know that he's reasonably happy with that.
Seems to have been around a long while, and that's because he's 27 now, and he's been at the top level for over a decade. And that is a long time in this sport. If either you or I had enough hair, we might be able to do something like that, John, but that's his look, and the judges won't miss him coming.
He's got more hair on the sides than I've got on mine.
particularly on pommels with Greece. I've got one of the Italians may not be competing. We'll just go back to Komova's 14.866. Yes, not far behind Mustafina. 14.566. For Hambushin, a 15.033 on floor. And Zapata's 15.3 for Spain, and then so Hambushin's 15, second best score on floor so far.
Seems to be a fair bit of activity in those judges' chairs. Sort of a lot of looking over shoulders, and the Italian still has to wait. And this is what can find you out. You know, you're ready to go, and now he's been waiting for probably over a minute, getting on for 2 minutes just for the instruction from the judges. So, you know, what's going through his mind? He's just thinking, "Come on, guys, let me get on and do what I've waited now to get on with." He gets the signal. Good use of the pommel throughout its length.
Just a little leg separation before the handstand. Might have been seen by the judges. They certainly don't miss much. He managed to write down in shorthand, and while looking at the athlete, and make a note of the moves. Got a language all their own. But the leg form just a little untidy at the end. So the Russians getting their chance to warm up on floor. And on pommels will be the Greece team, Petrunius, Maras and Iliopoulos. This is again a change to what we might normally see, John. If there are only 6 athletes in the rotation, then they would warm up all 6 before they start. To break it in 3, I don't think it adds too much to the time, but it is different to what the athletes are used to.
Yeah, so it's probably a learning experience for the participants and the coaches as it is for the judges, and certainly for the commentary team. We like a challenge.
Well, yes. No problems, just opportunities, as a friend of mine likes to say when he's standing over a 10-foot putt. Or even a 3-footer.
I was going to say, you're lucky to get that close.
Eleftherios Petrunius of Greece should be first up on pommels. Nikita Ignatiev for Russia on floor.
And there we got Singolani's got 12.4 on the rings. They took a long time to come up with that score.
Well, Singolani was the athlete that looked like he may not perform on pommels, but he's obviously changed their mind between the issuing of the start list and the start of competition. of a struggle through to the initial handstand. Petrunius.
Well, he finally got going, but unfortunately the start was very sticky, and he didn't really start too well. But
and he did well not to fall. He certainly slipped in the dismount. Petrunius.
rueful grin, curse of the commentator, just saying he was starting to get things together, and then on the dismount just loses control. It looked like his hands seemed to slip, or he misplaced it there. You can see just didn't create any time to finish with a flourish, and fell off, lost balance, and fell off his hand.
Koshileva in Belarus. First to vault for her team. A straightforward vault, but she's landed it in line with the runway and no problems on landing, so it's one out of the way. Russia following the Germans on floor in this first rotation. Petrunius just a 12-7 on pommels. He's actually a bit of a ring specialist. I will look forward to seeing him, as we really haven't seen anyone master that apparatus so far.
No, we thought the British boy had, but then he went down on his knees. So.
This is Kuksenkov, Nikolai Kuksenkov. Beautiful work. Excellent control. Work his way to the corner. Or another tumbling pass. Needs to look across at the clock, see how I'm going for the 70 seconds I'm allowed. Tone to let him know there's 10 seconds left. So time on his side to finish. And he hasn't finished as he wanted.
Well, you know, he slaps his hands as he comes off the floor, and that was so close to finishing off, which would have been a really tidy routine. But you can't relax for a second, can you? You know, you can't relax throughout it, because you're going to be putting your, you know, positions and range through, and then you just, that rotation, just, you know, absorption of it just threw him off.
Sometimes the springiness of the floor is enough to undo them as well as help them with the tumbling. Bounce out of a landing if they're a little bit stiff-legged.
You've got to anticipate it. You've almost not a go. You've got to know it's going to happen, and you've also got to know the forces that are going to be involved in it as you land. So you didn't quite interpret that.
12.666 for Koshileva on vault for Belarus. Third of the Russian team is David Belyavsky. He'll be up on floor in a moment. Cruikshank-Culver 14-4 with that 0.1 deduction for stepping outside the area. It's such a shame. So much to admire about what he showed us. Lewandowski is away. Oh, superb. Oh my goodness. Oh, he's just stepped out.
Not so easy to see from this camera from floor level, but certainly I think we'll have confirmation that he's got outside of the square.
One pass to come, and he's got to hurry a little. His tone's already gone. Good finish. It's one significant problem mid-routine. They just pack it with difficulty, and the execution has to be spot on. He's not 100% happy, is he?
No, like his compatriot, he'll have a 0.1 penalty, I think, there for putting his foot out of the permitted area. You can just see actually both, yeah, certainly both toes, one foot or half a foot, and then one toe of the other foot just out of the permitted zone. But apart from that, it was a very accomplished routine, showing great control.
Silver medalist all around in London, so certainly expect to see him in the all around final here. Jakubava has been nominated to do 2 vaults for Belarus in an effort to try to make the vault final. Hi, Mum.
Yeah, they just love it. And, you know, you say this is high-level competition, which it obviously is, but you can have a moment of pleasure, if you like, when you've had your go and you're watching your colleagues and your fellow competitors.
15-1 on floor, even with the problem. And ooh, you want to be careful.
Well, I was just looking at it earlier. You know, they've got some shears here, which is, sort of removes all this taping. They must have a plane full of taping that follows them to the airport. And again, just a little bit of a hold-up for the gymnast who's just getting ready to vault. And again, this is just part of the irritations of competition, and you can't get too worried about it. You can't get too upset about it, and you certainly would include some disruptions like this into your training environment at home.
Jakubava from Minsk competed at the Youth Olympics last year in Nanjing. It's not quite so dynamic over the last few metres of the runway, almost hesitating as she got there.
Yeah, not the fastest on the runway, and of course what happens is that manifests itself off the block because you just don't get a whole heap of height. So that speed of the runway, so crucial at this point. You block and it should throw you up to give you that height to complete whatever you're going to be doing to land.
Forgive that in a very young gymnast. So not a lot of distance in the post-flight, but she landed it in the right area, got through it. Just a bit of deceleration over the last couple of steps, perhaps. The crowd's been enjoying the session, that's for sure.
Well, captivated by some very good gymnastics by both the men and women. demonstrating great levels of skill across some of the disciplines, and I think the flags are waving because we've got a team coming in. It's just a little local.
Yakubava 12-7 on vaults. So that group is done for the day as well. Men's standings, the Russian Federation 29-5, 29-9. So it's pretty interesting that Spain holding that strong position. Switzerland, Great Britain, Germany, Austria, Greece and Poland. Plenty of events still to come though.
And the flags being waved, I think, merely reflects the fact that one of the Azerbaijan teams are in the arena.
And the women's, well, Russia with a healthy lead over Great Britain. 3 or 4 points in team competition is really significant.
So here we have the polls. Slovakian Michnek, who's going to be performing on the floor. Pole handles are adjusted to fit the needs of the Germans and the Russians.
Across to the wings go Italy and Greece.
And on the vault,
Here they are, Azerbaijan, Inchner, Krasheva, Pravdina. Hungary. The athletes also, Devetsi, Shogo and Makra. A bit of a mixed group in uneven bars with 3 from Greece, 1 athlete from Lithuania and 1 from Portugal. The locals are pretty happy. Let's see how Azerbaijan goes here. They've really invested heavily more in the rhythmic program than the artistic, but also making great strides, artistic gymnastics, particularly the women's program.
well, the great thing when countries decide to sort of make a special effort in certain areas, like in this case, in gymnastics, artistic gymnastics, saying the various disciplines of it, what you find is that you actually educate the populace too. So not only do you have this sort of uptake of participation, but more people get involved in terms of watching, getting involved. They start to understand a bit more of what's going on. So we can expect if the gymnasts from Azerbaijan sort of start to nail 1 or 2 of the disciplines here, that the crowd is going to get behind them, and that can have 2 effects. You know, it can raise the levels of excitement within the gymnasts, and we can also make them sort of think, oh crikey, how am I going to handle this? This great excitement, and it'll be fascinating to see how it progresses from now.
10 years ago, it would have been unthinkable for gymnasts, men or women, to have ink, but now it's so much a part of fashion and culture that I think the judges are probably over it, and it's fine. It's Europi Christophilaki of Greece prepares. Coach move the board away.
And she's quite a tall gymnast for this discipline. You can see those bars just probably pushed away to the maximum, moved away.
Oh, and she's missed the catch and has landed flat in the face, but okay. Oh, knocked the wind out. Yes, the taller gymnasts certainly set up the more elegant lines, but they have to keep at the waist to get through between the bars. Svetlana Korkina was quite a long and elegant gymnast, but she was queen of the bars. And they're reaching out, the fingertips just missing Christopher Lucky.
So this is a test of character.
Yeah. Resumption of the routine. They have to choose a point at which to restart.
Caught it this time.
Yeah, but a couple of extra swings to get back up. And this is really not what she had in mind. Oh, that's a shame for Mairapi Christopher Lucky.
It's probably saying good luck to a colleague who's just going to go on to, because it has an effect, you know, whether you like it or not. You know, you can be focusing on what you've got to do, but this team event is crucial to everybody doing the best they can to get scores for the team.
Marina Nekrashova of Azerbaijan, nominated to do a couple of vaults.
And you can see the anxiety on her face. Now, can she use this heightened state of excitement to exhibit itself in the vault? We'll soon see. The crowd will love it if she does. So will she.
Well, that's a good effort. She really did generate some good pace on the runway, and some don't. She really attacked it.
Well, of course, the one thing where you can, if you do get excited, the one thing you can do is generate more pace. You know, it just gives it. But if you haven't done that in the gym and you're going faster, then it puts all of the marks and the checks certainly into the setup to the vault. But she did a job on that in the environment that she's found herself in here. So, well done, good landing.
It's all over in the blink of an eye. It really asks plenty of the judges to get it right, but land feet first. Keep the hands off the mat.
And, you know, she goes, this is the incredible thing, you know, just finished, back to the start, and she's up for a second attempt.
Different vault for Nekrashova. Second time around, 13.566. She hopes to secure a place in the vault final.
Less anxiety on her face this time. So we'll probably see it just as fast though, but now she can just relax a little.
Well, another pretty good one, kept it in line, but just bounced a little out of the landing, and they're not the most complex vaults, but as someone once said, do what you do well.
Absolutely.
They've been great hosts, the folks of Azerbaijan. We've had a lovely time, and it's only early in the games. Ambushen of Germany.
Well, when the crowd starts taking off like that, you know, it has an impact on everybody. No, it just doesn't sort of raise the aspirations and sort of nerve levels of the home performer. It does have a positive or negative, positive usually, impact on everybody else, because you know the stadia, the gym becomes alive. So you know, good speed again into that block, and tidy in the air, feet just slightly apart, but that was a good vault for her second go at the event.
The chances of making a vault final are improved really by the fact that not that many want to do too. 13.466. Quite good marks for execution. Fabian Hambushin. Not lacking for power, enormously strong in the shoulders. And 14-1 from Hook of Austria. Well, he does make it look straightforward. That's part of it, you know, to give the impression of ease of execution, even though what you're doing is incredibly demanding and technical.
And you're just looking for smoothness, aren't you? And this range, the lower limb, the shoulders and arms almost, you know, are the main point of contact here. But then you want this smoothness of delivery and an ease of execution.
Vasiliki Melusi of Greece, uneven bars routine for her, the third of the Greek competitors. It's a nice combination there before the release. Get rewarded for those connection values. Well, again, not a complicated dismount, but one that's done well. And that's a nice effort from Vasiliki Melusi.
We mustn't forget, execution is a key element, and you know, if you can execute what is simpler, then you get marks for doing that. So very smooth transitions between the two bars, and makes it part on occasions, but very good dismount, tidy, clean when she lands.
She's 20 now, and we'll see. About 30, 1984 Melusi was born, so she is a real veteran in the team. Hambushin 13.3 on pommels. So not really challenging the top marks there. So again, a little changing of the guard here, at least for the men. First three have been up on pommels. There'll be Russia up next over there. The Greek lads on rings. Looking forward to seeing Eliopoulos and Petrunius. 9.33 for Melusi. Just didn't have the difficulty.
Yeah, and of course he hasn't got difficulty. Then the execution rate has to be correspondingly higher in terms of staying in the game.
Compromise, I suppose, in the way this event's being presented is satisfy both the athletes and spectators. When you came along to a qualifying session in the past, you would only see the men or the women. on this particular day, and this mixes it up in a way that maybe is pleasing to spectators. It's a different apparatus. Now, women obviously don't do pommels, rings. They share the vault and floor.
Well, it'd be fascinating to get the reflections of the gymnasts on the new structure, if you like, and also the coaches, because they're the ones that you know, often find out the changes are coming on and perhaps are sort of consulted or might not be consulted. Sometimes changes are made by governing bodies that aren't necessarily sort of, they talk to the coalface and find out whether it's appropriate for the changes to be put into practice. And of course, when you practice so hard to do what you're doing and things get changed, then it's of paramount importance that you apply that to the practice environment.
Slavomir Mishnak. Last in the group on the floor after his 3 Polish rivals. Whoops. Mishnak, the best results recently on pommels. He had a 33 qualifying rank at the World Championships in Nanning in China last year. Ranked in the 70s in all around.
Yeah, he's going to get penalised for that sort of indiscretion earlier where he didn't quite catch it and then he slips again. So that's twice he's gone down on his backside, and that will be reflected in the score he achieves.
Might even be a time penalty there, John. He was struggling to get through the 70 seconds. And looks a little down on it. Of Russia. Pommel's routine now. Ignatev, his Russian teammate, had a 14.366, pretty respectable score. In fact, Ignatev, 2 scores in the 14s. The Russian team takes some stopping, and I think they're likely to get a couple into the all-around final and sprinkling through the apparatus finals. They look to have come here in pretty good form. Of course, they have David Belyavsky. Koff is away. Beautiful leg extension. Whoops, not there though. Completely lost his leg form.
Commentator's curse again.
Yep. Guaranteed, isn't it?
Oh, and he actually doesn't complete the move, so that indiscretion towards the end of his routine.
They only just missed the pommels final in London, the 9th qualifying score of 14.9.
And there you go.
Yeah, disappointing for Kuksenkov. Made a good start to the competition. Head down.
And this is why this event and this whole team competition, he just lost total control, didn't he? But must have had some sort of brain zap or something, because they practice this so much. But it is so demanding.
And there's no time in pommels to actually think about your next move. It has to be drawing on what you've done in the training hall, and it's got to be automatic. And that being the case, John, as a coach, your athletes, what can you tell them when they're going out to execute quickly?
Well, you've practiced it, so you've just got to go your instincts and know that as soon as you start, you can do what you've done so many times, and then add even more to it if you can. You know, and this is the difference between the winners and losers amongst us. The really good people do get better in this sort of nerve-jangling environment, but it's not easy, and you know, a lot of these guys have similar levels of skill and execution. And the difference is the ability to perform under pressure. So this is the Greek, Petrunius, who's up on the rings.
6th in the rings final at the World Championships last year. Actually came into the final with the 3rd best score of 15.7. So he's capable of getting in the high 15. So this is a routine we've been anticipating.
He certainly spends time getting ready to do it, so but he's just waiting for the judges to give him the final indication that it's his turn.
Eleftherios Petrunius. Wishing well.
Hardly moving.
Oh, and his body absolutely parallel, just tilts the head back, so yep, I've got it. And again, oh, he's a class above.
Those rings hardly moving.
Unbelievable, just took his fingers off the rings. It was just sitting on his wrists almost, or the palms of his hand. And again. Can he get the dismount? Yes, he can. Oh, that's quality. Well, that was worth waiting for, and no wonder he's made world finals.
I think he nailed that one. That was pretty special, wasn't it? What a great performance, and his fellow competitors in the team and the coaching staff are just delighted for him. That's amazingly strong.
What a body position, absolutely parallel.
That is fantastic.
I know he's very powerful, but I've seen stronger athletes not as good on the rings as the technique here from Petrunius. Just a minor overbalance there, but oh, you've got to give him high marks for that. It's packed with difficulty. Execution was high as well. Earlier, Kuksenkov 13.566 on pommels. Well, Petrunius on rings, one of the highlights of the session so far. Believsky, last of the Russians up on pommels. Leg separation there. Russians not enjoying the pommels.
No, it's almost like a contagion, isn't it? Things don't go quite right with your colleague in the team, and then suddenly those doubts, those little doubts come into the mind.
Rush the pommels, the tempo goes. You see he's building up speed now, and he lost that early in the routine. And he's all over the place and fights through the dismount, and Beliavsky is good enough to finish it. Not in the style he wanted. There. Just ankles came apart a bit early. Had to be quick, and he was.
Yeah, resultant of that sort of little loss about means that the dismount looks rush.
14.8 pommels. Petrudius 15.733 on rings. Well, if he can replicate that come the final, watch out. Federation. Less than a point lead over Spain at the corresponding time. Great Britain and Germany, not much between them. And Greece also in the 55s. Back a little to Switzerland, Austria and Poland in the team standings. Women's, it's still the Russian Federation with a pretty handy lead over Great Britain and Hungary. Azerbaijan in 5th position at the moment. Might have been a tough ticket to get to come today to watch Azerbaijan in artistic gymnastics. Might have been tougher again in the rhythmic.
Well, I think they'll be trying to sit on the roof and look through the windows, I think. But yeah, you can see it's a pretty good crowd, so yeah, ticket distribution well taken.
Italy and Greece move across to floor. Looking at the information on our start lists here, they are managing to run the session pretty much on time.
Well, there hasn't been too many incidents in terms of judging points and sort of if you like, issues with the equipment, and fortunately there hasn't been any major discrepancies with the performers, so we haven't had any athletes go down and hurt themselves. So it's been a fairly clean morning's competition so far.
Germany and Russia across to the rings. So the venue sort of looks a bit bigger than its capacity suggests. It only holds for 5,500. Everyone's got a good seat, and can make plenty of noise in here. And to think it's really built primarily for one sport, rhythmic gymnastics. It's unparalleled in rhythmic around the world in terms of its capacity to as a facility for athletes. Outstanding. Get the best coaches across to the program. Get enough potential athletes interested. That's the next part of it.
Well, of course, like if it becomes a really important sport for the country and certainly for the city here, you build the facility, you get the coaching staff, as you've indicated, and then you just need, young girls or boys in certain gymnastics, there's rhythmic gymnastics in terms of ladies and young girls, and the numbers come in, and then you start to, with more numbers, you have this great opportunity of developing the best amongst them.
Yulia Ishina of Azerbaijan completes the first release. Coach steps away and back in again. Dismount to come for Inchina, just a little slow, and lost some momentum around the higher bar and comes up unhappy.
Well, you know, sometimes the crowd input can have this effect, can't it? You can raise your game and it can just make you a little bit on edge. And she certainly seemed to lose some of the rotational speed in the last phases of her routine, and the consequence, unfortunately, sort of manifested itself in that landing where, you know, she just had to sit. She squatted and she sat. So.
Vasiliki Malusi should just be the 1 volt from her if our information's correct. Athlete from Lithuania might be doing 2. She's got the green light. Well done. She's elegant, isn't she? She's very experienced.
Nicely controlled on the run-up as she approaches the vaulting area, and then fairly straightforward in terms of difficulty off the vault. Good block, and then very tidy landing.
No twists in there. It's got a lower difficulty value. She's done it well, Malusi. The rings for Andreas Toba. Not sure we're going to see anyone today as good as Petrunius, but this is a good start from Toba.
Just seemed to be slightly out on his crucifix there, just sort of twisted a little bit.
Oh, double twisting in the dismount. That was tough, but almost got it just right. But a little kick away, suggesting he knows he left a bit out there. And Bushin says, well done.
Yeah, it's a pretty good effort. See there the rotations and twisting, and then it just sort of came out through the ankle and it just took him the other way, didn't it? And it kicks the mat in frustration. So close to nailing it, but then not quite, that final piece.
Inchina 10-7 on bars. 0.5 penalty. For Vasiliki Malusi, 13.233 for her vault. Gymnastics teams want to have an arrangement with a tape company, and they certainly get through it.
Yeah, I think they must have.
Łukasz Bukowski is the third and final Polish competitor up on pommels. And, mixed group there with athletes from Slovenia and Slovakia. And 13.766 for Toba. Bukowski. Break of leg form early, but it's been good since. Just a tap on the apparatus with the leg as he comes through to the handstand. Otherwise, pretty good.
Yeah, pretty clean. But again, you know, it just shows that you just can't relax, and he comes off shaking his head because he knows that little tap at the end is probably just going to take the execution mark just down a fraction. But it was pretty tidy throughout.
Ambushin's got the green light for the rings. There was a time in his early days when Ambushin actually performed with spectacles on, and he cut quite an academic figure on the floor. Ambushin, good finish.
Yeah, good strength throughout that.
Yeah, he's a very clean gymnast there. Doesn't make too many glaring mistakes. As he pushes the rings away in the dismount, it'd be very easy to get a foot stuck or caught or partially caught in the rings, and that's catastrophic. And fortunately, it doesn't happen too often, and not in front of our cameras today. 14.633, Ambushin. It might actually be good enough to see him into the rings final. Not many scores better. Petrunius, of course, was up in the 15s, but 14.633, more than respectable.
The ritual of the cleaning of the bars. Coaches and athletes alike sort of rushing around to tidy it up and make it suit their needs.
Bukowski at 12.466 for Poland. Coming on bars, we've got the Hungarian team. Actually getting towards the end of this first session.
young and old alike, flying the flag, the national flag here in the stadium.
Put on a tremendous opening ceremony, which I'm sure all of Azerbaijan's very proud. Ready to continue. It's a second rotation for these women. The Hungarians cross on uneven bars. Lutza Deveci.
The amount of movement and tension, coaches have to be as fit as a gymnast. They have to busy themselves around.
This is Deveci, though, was just completing a warm-up, I think, for the earlier athlete. The coach was in there a bit close. He can't actually make contact with the athlete during the routine, and unless, of course, they're falling and then they're trying to protect them, and that's all fine. But Luka Deveci will be the first up of the Hungarian three. Now she's away. A little bit bouncy on the bars. Looking some smoothness and a vertical position at the top of the earlier hand. Unusual dismount. That was quick and a bit sloppy at times, but she got through it.
Well, it looked like her releases were reasonable in terms of her movement from the higher to the lower bars.
Because when they're swinging up to the top to hold, they've really got to achieve as close to the vertical as they can. Otherwise, the deductions depending on the angle that they achieve. Go back across to rings, though. And Nikita Ignatiev. Not afraid of the strength elements in this routine. Oh, superb hold.
Great
the rings.
control.
Yeah, very steady. Not quite so good before the handstand. Nice finish, though, for Nikita Ignatiev of the Russian Federation. Pretty happy with that.
Well, it must come as great relief once you get to the end of your routine and you land and nail it like that. Very little movement at all once the feet had landed. So great finish to what was a pretty good, tidy routine.
Yep, looks pleased with himself. For the Hungarian, at 11-7 on uneven bars. Luka Devecki. Short, uncomplicated routine. There's a fair bit of work going on there.
There's a lot of tape around that calf. Could be Achilles, slight irritation on the Achilles. You'd need to protect it all the way up the calf if you could, if there was a problem. But while she was having that tape done, she was screaming at her colleague who was obviously performing at the time, so obviously not in too much pain, perhaps.
Nikolai Kukshenkov should be next to go for Russia on rings. Just a couple of performances left in this opening session at the Gymnastics Arena.
I think therapists who do the taping and the therapists that provide the massage or physiotherapy support earn their money on competitions like this, to make sure they wake up the next day or for the next session in as pristine condition as they can be, because this is pretty grueling stuff, isn't it? And the nervous expenditure of energy, that's just the physical bit is, they can do that, I think, but it's the nervous worry and anxiety which takes its toll.
A couple of tenths is quite a margin at this level, and just looking at the scores on rings, Petrunius of Greece with a 15.733. Next best is 15 even from Ignatiev, so 0.7 is a massive margin. And that is the quality of Petrunius on rings. Now Kukshenkov trying to get near it. Again, good control from the Russians on rings. And another good landing. They're building up some good team scores here.
Absolutely.
Just rolling through to the crucifix. Seems to be a move they favour.
The strength displayed there is enormous. That's fantastic.
To stop the rotational force. They look like average-sized men, just particularly muscular, but when you stand next to them, the lower centre of gravity that they need is manifested in their height overall. They're shorter than the average guy, just a hell of a lot stronger.
Yeah.
Across the floor now where Greece are performing. This is Eleftherios Petrunius, also dominant on rings. Must have stepped out. Judge in the corner raised the flag. Oh, and the toe could be over the line again.
Well, we know he's got great strength from his rings routine, so can he do the control and make sure that he stays within the confines of the square.
Last pass for Petrunius. Just untidy for a couple of moments there. You just get the feeling he's here for that rings opportunity.
Yeah, a couple of indiscretions there. Just sort of went to the corner, and following that he got a bit of a flag. And then on another part, the other section, as he came back across, he put his foot on the line.
That first incident was really a bit careless, because all he was trying to do was gather himself into the corner, and he seems to have put his heel over the line. So the penalties are there, and 13.966. Might have been thinking about his next meal, because they're done for the moment. 14-1 for Belyavsky on rings. Team standings at this point, early moments of the team competition. It's the Russians with a more than useful lead over Great Britain, Spain in third position. Then Germany, Greece, Switzerland, Italy and Austria. A lot of teams still to perform though in what is a slightly longer second session on day one of the artistic gymnastics, as the fans make their way out of the National Gymnastics Arena, perhaps across to the Metro. And in the women's, well, Russia again. That's a mighty lead over Hungary, Great Britain, and then a further gap back to Ukraine, Azerbaijan and Denmark close together, Greece and Croatia. So that's how things stand. Those gymnasts who've competed today have done half what they need to for their team and for themselves. I'll be back in 24 hours to complete their next two or three apparatus, 2 for the women, 3 for the men. The all-around standings look this way, with Belyavsky and Ignatiev, Russia 1 and 2. Then Fabian Hambushin, good all-around gymnast for Germany, and Bryn Bevan for Great Britain. Then Kuksenkov, Petrunius, really on the strength of his rings performance, up there in the top 10. Gonzalez and Wilson of Spain and Great Britain. Positions 9 through 16. Jimmy Verbees, best of the Belgians, in 15th at the moment. These gymnasts probably out of the running in terms of making an all-around final, but they've still got 3 events which to challenge for an apparatus final. I love the music here. Women's all-around standings, and again, Russia 1, 2, 3. Mustafina Kormova and the young Sida Tuktikalian. Bit of a revelation for those of us who haven't seen her before. Barely out of junior ranks. Charlie Fellows, the best of the British athletes, and Kelly Sim in 8th position. Hungary's Dorina Boshogo there. Georgina Hockenhall in 12th at the moment. Vasiliki Malusi, we saw a bit of, the Greek athlete, in 9th. And 17 through to 24, the Danish girls Linnea Wang and Mette Hulgaard there. And again, too, they might be looking for an apparatus final in their favourite event. Not likely to make the all-around. So that's the situation as we draw to a close the first session of the artistic gymnastics at the National Arena. I hope you can join us for future sessions.